Breaking news, Keir Starmer walked into Parliament today thinking it would be just another routine Wednesday. 90 seconds later, he walked out humiliated, rattled and politically broken. The architect of the ambush? None other than Nigel Farage, whose timing and precision left even veteran MPs speechless. The footage has already gone viral, racking up over 6 million views in just 3 hours. What unfolded inside the chamber today could very well mark the beginning of the end for Labour's grip on Westminster. If you want to understand the full scale of this political meltdown, hit that subscribe button now, because the fallout is still reverberating through the halls of power. Here's exactly what happened. Yesterday at 2:47 p.m, Starmer approached the dispatch box for Prime Minister's questions. He expected the usual lines of inquiry: the NHS, immigration, the economy. His team had prepared him meticulously, except they hadn't prepared for the silent, calculated predator waiting in the room, Nigel Farage. For 30 minutes, Farage observed. He sat unmoving, eyes sharp, timing every second with the precision of a sniper, locking onto his target. Then, at exactly 2:51 p.m, Farage stood. The chamber went completely silent. All eyes turned. Members leaned forward. Instinctively, Farage held a single sheet of paper, his calm voice cutting like a knife. Prime Minister, can you explain to the British people why your Chancellor secretly met with EU officials in Brussels last Thursday to discuss rejoining the customs union? The words landed like a bomb. Starmer's face drained of colour. Rachel Reeves, 3 seats away, froze mid-breath. The entire Labour front bench looked as though they'd been blindsided by a bullet. This meeting, classified as personal business, was never meant to see daylight. And yet Farage had every detail: exact time, locations, names of EU commissioners and follow-up questions ready. He continued, voice rising. Do you deny that draft proposals were discussed to harmonise UK tax policy with Brussels within 18 months? Starmer tried to respond, his voice cracking. The honourable member is misinformed about private discussions. Farage interrupted. There's nothing private about selling out British sovereignty. Parliament erupted. Conservative MPs cheered. Labour MPs shouted. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle hammered his gavel 16 times in a futile attempt to restore order. Starmer's words dissolved into chaos. Within 90 seconds, the authority he had walked in with had evaporated. But here's what most people haven't realised. This ambush wasn't spontaneous. Farage had known about the Brussels meeting for 11 days. He deliberately timed the attack to coincide with the maximum media coverage. His strategy wasn't just political, it was psychological warfare. A Reform UK strategist, speaking anonymously, said every possible response Starmer could give was mapped out in advance. We had contingencies for every answer. This was about crushing him before he even had a chance to react. Meanwhile, Labour's own intelligence team had been focused entirely on countering the Conservatives, underestimating Farage as a serious threat. That oversight cost them everything. Sources suggest that Farage's information came from an EU official sympathetic to Brexit, horrified by attempts at secret reintegration. The Guardian declined to publish, The Times is verifying, but Farage moved first and now controls the narrative entirely. Political historians are already comparing this moment to Geoffrey Howe's resignation speech that ended Margaret Thatcher's premiership. Parliamentary sketch writers call it the most devastating 90 seconds in modern British politics, and the human consequences couldn't be starker. Veterans who fought for Britain's independence are facing unimaginable neglect. Dennis Parker, 71, waited 11 months for a hip replacement after serving his country. Margaret Davies, 67, an army nurse, waited 14 months for cancer screening. Their voices joined thousands of others, overshadowed by ministers sipping champagne in Brussels. Royal intervention followed in an unprecedented fashion. Within 2 hours of Farage's ambush, King Charles, during a routine meeting with Australian diplomats, made a carefully calculated comment. One must wonder whether the people's will expressed in referendums ought to carry more weight than backroom negotiations. This was no offhand remark. Palace insiders revealed the king had been briefed on leaked intelligence about the Brussels trip. Consultation with former prime ministers, including Blair, May and Johnson, occurred over 36 hours. Constitutional precedent hadn't seen such direct intervention since Edward VII. The message to Starmer was crystal clear. You have crossed a line. The domino effect was immediate. Within 3 hours of Farage's ambush, £1.8 billion was wiped from the FTSE 100. The pound fell 1.3% against the dollar, its lowest since last September. Traders are now factoring in the possibility of a government collapse within 6 months. Investors have frozen, awaiting clarity. Meanwhile, the public outrage is only intensifying. Ordinary citizens, veterans and working-class families are witnessing their leaders negotiate sovereignty in secret while their needs are ignored. Starmer's promise of protecting national interests now rings hollow. The optics are catastrophic. Labour is under fire from every angle and Nigel Farage has seized complete control of the narrative. This isn't just a political setback, it's a full-scale crisis. Starmer faces the most public humiliation of his career, and Labour's credibility hangs by a thread. With royal scrutiny, public outrage and market instability converging, Westminster has never seen a day like this. The question now is simple. Can Starmer recover from this? Or is this truly the beginning of the end for Labour as we know it? But the fallout didn't stop with the immediate embarrassment in Parliament or the instant collapse of Starmer's authority. What happened today in the chamber isn't just a moment of weakness, it marks the beginning of a political earthquake that could redraw Britain's power map entirely. Insiders within the Labour Party reveal that fear has begun to spread through the ranks. Long-time supporters of Starmer are now openly questioning his leadership, with some even contemplating a possible leadership challenge before the next election. Even the Conservatives are watching in astonishment. They've seen firsthand how a calculated, precise move from Farage can strike at the heart of government without any prior warning. This is politics as the British public hasn't witnessed in decades. An attack on power from within, echoing through public, military and financial spheres. Beyond the political aspects, human stories reveal the staggering gap between the ruling elite and ordinary citizens. Thousands of veterans and frontline workers feel abandoned, betrayed by the very people entrusted with protecting their interests. The immediate stock market drop, just minutes after the parliamentary ambush, underscores how sensitive investors are to this crisis and how a single misstep could trigger a far larger, faster collapse than anyone predicted. On the royal level, King Charles made an unprecedented intervention, subtly warning the government against actions that could undermine previous referendum results and destabilise the constitutional order. A message from the symbolic pinnacle of the nation adds extraordinary pressure on Starmer, making it clear that the crisis has now reached the very top of British authority. The scenario unfolding resembles a complete internal dismantling, loss of trust from the grassroots, direct attacks from political opponents, royal concern and severe economic reactions. Together, these forces present an existential threat to the Labour Party as it exists today. Unless Starmer can rapidly restore confidence, the party risks becoming a marginal force while Farage and his movement gain unstoppable popular momentum. The critical question now, can Starmer turn this around before it becomes a full-blown electoral disaster, or was today in Parliament the beginning of the end for the Labour Party in modern Britain? The country's political future hangs in the balance, and every passing second only increases the stakes of this historic moment.